Hello everyone and welcome to Molehill Mountain episode 365. Andrew here to talk about all the incredibly important things. Or at least the things that are incredibly important to me. Chicago, hello. So, I don't have a problem. I just have phenomenal taste. Which is why I'm playing a bunch of really large RPGs at the same time. I was playing, it's like, wow, I'm playing Trails to Azure, and I'm playing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and I've got some other stuff that's in progress right now, and I made a list on Twitter, and I realized I'm currently playing Trails to Azure, Tales of Berseria, Baten Kaitos Origins, Persona 5 Royale, The Legend of Nayuta Boundless Trails, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and Elden Ring. And those aren't the only games that are in the middle of. Those are just the big RPG ones. Like, I mean, you might count Valkyria Chronicles 4. Not more of a strategy game than an RPG, I'd say. 13 Aegis. What the hell's the name of this game? Hang on a second. What's the name of this game? Sentinels. That's what it's called. Yeah. This one. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. Which... golly, there's... there's the AI Somnium Files games, which... are games that I finished the first one, I started the second one, I just stopped playing it, which is frustrating because I like the world, I like the characters, I like the story, but the game is so damn boring. Or rather, the experience is just a drag. I rephrase that because there's almost no actual game there. It's kind of like... if you were reading a book, and instead of turning a page to get to the next words, you had to get up off your couch, walk over to your bookshelf, and get another book with the next page in it. Or if you're watching a movie, and it just paused every minute, and you had to get up, grab the remote, and unpause it, and then go sit down again. Every single minute. Might be a great book. Might be a great movie. Still really frustrating to get through, right? 13 Sentinels, Aegis, Rim, whatever. Liking the characters, liking the story. It's got a lot of weird crap and time travel and alternate persons and just a bunch and a little robot. Just a bunch of neat stuff. And there's an actual gameplay in it. They're completely separate. It's kind of weird because there's the story sections and then there's the gameplay sections, and they feel like two completely different products. And I appreciate it's got some game in its game. The problem I'm having is the game is just boring as shit and super easy. And at least so far, the story is told non-chronologically. But so far, none of the gameplay sections seem to have any relation to the story at all. Except, I mean, the characters that you are controlling or talking to actually drive the robots naked, like you do. So, this as much as I enjoy parts of it, it's really tough for me to actually play through. So yeah, and hey, tomorrow on the Sunday stream we're gonna be starting a new game. So, yeah. Chicago says Baten Kaitos is the one that took 10 years to beat, right? Oh, it took more than that. It took close to like 20. Baten Kaitos is a GameCube game, so that it's probably like 2003 or something like that. Let me look real quick. Botan Kaitos. Boop. Yeah, almost 20 years. It took me almost 20 years. I finally beat it last October. Yeah, I think it came out in 2003. Yeah, that one took a while. Oh man, there are a couple games that I'm in the middle of that I'll probably just never finish, like God of War, the more recent one, the one prior to Ragnarok, not the one that was on the PS2 20 years ago. It's a game that I thought was fine. It just, for me, it overstayed its welcome. Like, the plot of the game is Kratos and his boy are taking mom's ashes, and they're gonna take it to a mountaintop and spread her ashes around. Aw, it's adorable. That's cute. All right, and we just have to kill everything between here and the mountain, like you do. And so you go on this quest to make it from point A to point B, and we got to point B, and I was like, ready for the game to be over. But no, there's like mystical, magical black smoke coming out of the mountains, so we had to turn around and go back for reasons. And I'm like, we could just go around. I don't think that's the only path up to the mountain. I was just ready for it to be. I'm like, I'm done. I don't know if I care enough to go back to God of War. It's like, we got to the mountain. I'm done. It's like, well, this is close enough. Dump. Let's go home, boy. Let's see, what else do I have? I got about halfway through Western shooty game, Rockstar game, Red Dead Redemption. Not 2, the first one on PS3. This is a couple of years ago. I haven't played it in quite a while. I don't think the game's very good. I think I'm at like the halfway mark. I got to the point where you get to the other side of the river to explore the stuff that's over there, but I just don't think the game's very good. I don't think the quests are very fun. I don't think the characters are very interesting. I think most of the mechanics are very, very clunky and not really that fun to engage with. Not that there's nothing to enjoy about the game, but I did play through however far into the game that is. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I'm going back to that one. So what else do I have over there? I can't even see. You got a bad glare. Let's see. Oh yeah, Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Oh God, I mean, I want to beat Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, but I don't want to play Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It's weird because Tears of the Kingdom does many things better than its predecessor, methinks. But I actually just enjoy the Breath of the Wild more, because Tears of the Kingdom for me is just, there's just too much there. There's just too much, and I don't want to engage with it. I think where I kind of pieced out is when I realized that the underground section is just more Hyrule, and I'm like, I don't want to go down there. I hate it down there. Which is weird, because I've read several opinion pieces of people who like the underground area of Tears of the Kingdom is like their favorite thing ever. I'm like, really? I hate it. It was, Brian was going through his physics videos when I learned about it. I'm like, where is this auto build feature thing that he's using? This, store crafting recipes for the crafting bit, and I forget what they call it, in Tears of the Kingdom. And it's like one of the earlier things you pick up in the underground. But I pieced out of the underground so quickly, I got through a fair chunk of the game without that feature. I was like, oh, it's underground? I don't want to go down there. It's dark and boring and just an absolute slog. You constantly have to throw little light pellets. It's just, there's nothing down there. It's dull as shit. Everything looks the same. I hate it so much. But that's not most people's experiences. Most people love it. I actually really enjoyed it. Like the first time I got down there, I was like, "Oh, this is different. This is cool." Well, what's lurking in the dark? You know, kind of a thing. It's like, and then I realized, oh Jesus, it's all of Hyrule down here. Oh no, 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 no. I really don't want to do that. And it makes me sad that Princess Zelda is just going to be forever trapped as a dragon. I'm assuming that dragon way up in the sky, that Zelda, I mean, that seems pretty clear to me that she became a dragon and she's just crying over her kingdom. Her tears are hitting the kingdom. I mean, I think I got all of the tears. And that's another thing. I think Nintendo should have curated a proper narrative order for the tier cutscenes and just played them in the proper order as you collected them rather than just attach each one to a tier so everyone gets the story in a different order. Because of the way I got them, I think I figured out... I figured out where the plot was going a lot earlier than the narrative really seemed to want me to get there. I'm like, oh, this seems like a bad order to tell this in because now I'm way ahead of everyone else in the story. So how far along Tears of the Kingdom am I? I think the Ruto... No, not Ruto. The fish people. They've got a name. Zora's. The Zora place. Whatever's going on in the Zora place, that I think they've got funky water. I went to the Zora place, and they're like, hey, you need to talk to Philip, the Zora prince. You remember him from the last game. I'm like, sure I do. He's like, he's way the hell up there on that mountain, way the hell over there. So you gotta go. I'm like, no, I don't want to. I just don't want to. It's just, for me, Tears of the Kingdom is a... Breath of the Wild was an absolute achievement in gaming, and Tears of the Kingdom builds upon that and refines a lot of it while introducing a lot of nifty new things, like its crafting, building system, whatever they call it. Except it's so goddamn clunky and annoying and aggravating to actually try to use. I don't have the patience for it. Like, Brian was doing his physics things, and I thought it was such a conceptually interesting idea, but I just did not have the patience to try and glue shit together. It's just it's a pain in the ass, and I don't like dealing with it. So, the depths, there you go. Chaos, not a fan of the depths either. Lee says, well, people don't like Tears of the Kingdom because it's on Switch and they think Switch games are bad. Well, that's pretty reductive, but okay. I mean, now it would be correct to say if a game is, the PlayStation, the original PlayStation was bad, so every game on the PlayStation was indeed bad. But saying that about the Switch, no, that doesn't work. What book are we talking about? Oh, I was a hypothetical book. It wasn't a book. Chicago says, Baten Kaitos HD Remaster Collection is on sale in the Nintendo eShop. Considering getting it, but my backlog is huge. I hear you. I was just talking about all the games I've started. I've still got a bunch that I haven't started. Like, a lot more. Like, I'm looking at a section of my shelf dedicated to the stuff I haven't even started yet. Uh, Chicago says, I love the depths. The dark unknown is interesting. It was for me at first until I realized that it's all of Hyrule. Like, if it was just some bespoke areas with actual interesting stuff in them, you know, it started out really cool until I realized everything looks exactly the same and it's just huge. For me anyway, it became a slog that I just did not want to go through. Um, let's see. Tears of the Kingdom has underground, says Lee, but they can't do it on Animal Crossing. There you go. Yeah, Mr. Rossetti keeps kicking us out. Chaos's death should have only been under a few key areas instead of the same size of the overworld. I agree with that. I imagine a lot of people would disagree. They like the fact that there's an entire Hyrule under Hyrule. And conceptually, I would agree, except there's nothing of interest down there. It all looks the same and it's really boring. I just don't like it. A corollary is the sky areas is, to me, just as annoying. Because they're a pain in the ass to get to. There was a singular moment. This is the moment in Tears of the Kingdom that really turned a corner, made my feelings of the game turn a corner. And that moment was when I was on one of the Sky Islands, and I wanted to go to another Sky Island. And so I built a thing to go over there. There was one of the big floaty blocks. So I, put some fans on it, and I put a steering wheel on it. And I'm like, and a bunch of damn batteries. And it's like, off we go! Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, probably not the way they wanted me to get there because they drained all the batteries. And I just had to kind of stand on this floating thing until it recharged, until my batteries recharged, and then kept going. And I spent probably like 4 minutes or so just traveling to this other island. And I was almost there when the big floaty block that I had built on just unloaded from the game. Just blinked out of existence. I think it flashed first, but it just disappeared, and I fell to Hyrule, and I was like, I'm done. Screw this. Nope. I think that moment is when I really turned. I played probably another 20 hours of the game, but I think that's really when my attitude turned. The Sky Islands are a pain in the ass to get to. They're a pain in the ass to get to and from. A lot of this stuff, I like the idea of being imaginative to build solutions to get to Koroks or do things, right? I think that's really neat. But the building mechanic is such a pain in the ass that it's like, I just don't want to, go see Prince Philip the Zora on the top. I'm like, I just don't, no, I just don't want to. It's like, I could build a craft to fly up there, but it would probably disappear at some point anyway. So, I could make a hot air balloon, but it's just going to unload at some point. I have no patience. If you've seen my debut review videos, that's how I see. I love being entertained, but I have no patience. I demand instant gratification. Let's see. Lee says, maybe I'm glad I only played the NES version of Zelda. Sidon. There you go. What was I saying? Philip? Yeah, I couldn't remember his name. And the game makes a big deal about, oh yeah, it's your buddy Sidon, I'm like, yeah, I have no memory of this guy. I'm sure he has lots of thirsty fan art. I'm sorry, I don't remember him. Chicago says, I made a few all-terrain vehicles. So did I. There was some fun things like when you have to cart the musicians over to the ferry, the great ferries, you have to go load them into a cart and then build something that can actually get to where you're going. Conceptually, I think that's a really nifty idea. It's super cool. It's just building stuff is a pain in the butt. And after a while, I just lost the enthusiasm for it. I'm just like, I don't want to deal with this system anymore. It's not bringing me joy. And you know what Marie Kondo does to things that do not bring her joy? I think she just discards them. She like, that would change the tenor of that show if Marie Kondo just like got a big pile of stuff that didn't bring her joy and like attacked it with a chainsaw or a sledgehammer or lit it on fire or something like that. And then danced naked around the blaze, screaming obscenities. Be like, oh, this show's a little different than I'd heard. You're bringing me joy now, aren't you? Lindy, hello. They need to do building like Mario Maker. For Tears of the Kingdom, I think I understand why they went the way they went. They were trying to strike a balance between endless creativity, being able to build whatever you want, but also accessibility, not making it so damn intricate and complicated that the more casual among us couldn't engage with the system at all, right? It can't be too like, for example, if you have a plank of wood and you want to attach wheels to it, they only really attach in a couple of spots. You don't have the fine degree of control. You can't put the wheel anywhere. You can put it like in the middle, at the outer edges, and like in between those points, and that's about it. Conceptually, I'm okay with that, except it can be really difficult to pick stuff up and flip it around and angle it into a place so that you can attach things where you want them to. I think it does do many things well. Like, it's always usually pretty clear where it's going to attach, which is good. But sometimes you just can't get it to attach the way you want, where you want. Also, the whole let's shake stuff to... It's, if you make a mistake, like if you attach something and it doesn't quite get where you want it, you almost have to destroy the entire damn thing to and start over. It's like, oh, this isn't working. Let me just break this piece off. It's like you can get something off of the end, but if you get an internal piece that's connected to a bunch of stuff, like everything falls apart. And that's like, yeah. Really, I'm just whiny and impatient is my problem. Chicago says building can be tedious. I've seen videos of other people's contraptions and I'm amazed at their ingenuity. Indeed. I'm not just amazed at their ingenuity. I'm amazed at their patience, because I have none. I'm like, they spent a lot of... They were tearing their hairs. Like, I remember... again, Brian was doing the physics things, and I was, playing along with some of them. And just... It would, like... I'd be building my masterpiece. I'd be building a paddle boat or something like that, and then it would start raining. It's like, god damn, so much rain. Or it would, a lightning storm, it would, light my thing on fire. I'm like, oh, come on. Or, there'd be like some bokoblins a mile away, and they'd be like, is that Link over there? Let's get him! It's like, go away! It'd be nice if the game had like a free build mode. Like an area. There probably is somewhere in Hyrule you can go. There are, like, I tried to find places that I wasn't going to be, that didn't have reliably inclement weather and bands of bokoblins wandering through, right? But there don't seem to be a terrible too many places you can go where you're not going to be pestered by the elements or, you know, some, you know, keys or the skeletons just kind of popping up and harassing you. It's like, this is very delicate work, go away. um I did make a contraption where I put the cart literally before the horse, so that my horse was pushing a cart. I just conceptually I found that very very funny. Um, one there were some funny moments. Like I remember I was on. I can't remember. My horse got struck by lightning at one point and ran screaming, understandably. And that was funny enough that I wasn't too frustrated, even though whatever I was doing at the time was completely ruined. I forget what I was even doing at the time, but yeah, my horse got struck by lightning. So. And then but then annoying stuff happens. Like I saw one of the falling stars. I'm like, ooh, falling star, gonna go get me one of those. And I'm running at the falling star, and there's a ravine in front of me. It's like, well, I got to get there by 6 a.m. or whatever it is, otherwise, you know, before the star's gone. So don't have time to go around the ravine. So I'm just going to have to jump, paraglide across, and you know, cling to the edge of the cliff, and then crawl up and keep running. Can you guess what happened as I was paragliding across the cliff? Yeah, it started raining, which means I can't climb up the cliff. Oh, well, you should. I didn't have the full sticky suit yet. This was a little bit earlier. That is a great reward, although it's not completely foolproof. But it's one that you get fairly late game. That's not something you can easily get very early. You have to do that entire investigative journalism quest, I think, to get the frog suit, so you're less likely to slip when you're climbing the cliff. And it's like, didn't you have any anti-stick potions? It's like, I had the ingredients for it, but unfortunately, I can't cook while clinging to the side of a cliff, and the side of the ravine went straight down into the water. So, best I could do was go down, try to swim around. I didn't make it, and that really frosted my cookies. Sean Hockenberry, hello. I hope the next Zelda is more traditional with big intricate dungeons. Yeah, me too. You know, I know a lot of people really love the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom format, but I don't. I'm really hoping for whatever form the next Zelda takes. I hope it's different, because I admire the Breath and Tears games much more than I actually enjoy them. I'll probably go back to Tears of the Kingdom and at least finish out whatever the hell Prince Sidon wants. Again, I think it's clear up the mud in his... they've got muddy water. So fix that, and then I guess just go to the Hyrule Castle. Is Ganon there? I guess he is. One thing I liked about the first game is you get out of the cave and it's like, there's Hyrule Castle, Ganon's there, go get him. Or, you know, do some other stuff, because you've got 3 hearts right now, you're probably going to die and you've only got a stick. In this game, it's like, I mean, Hyrule Castle's right there, I've been inside, I didn't see anything. It's like, is there a threat? I mean, there's the pink swirly clouds again, but, I don't know. Is Ganon over there? No one talks about him. I don't know. The Depths says Chicago doesn't have any weather to bother. You know, that is one nice thing about the Depths. It doesn't rain down there. Wouldn't matter as much because there's not a whole hell of a lot to climb down there. I mean, there is some. There's some structures, and there are some like giant roots that you can climb up, and there's a couple cliffs and things here and there, but climbing is not something you do to the as frequently as you do on ground level. But yeah, I agree. There's no weather in the depths. That is one nice thing about the depths, so I'll give it that. Let's see. Chicago says, I would ride the dragons around the map and into the depths. I think that made the game more bearable for me. I found the dragons kind of a pain in the ass, too, because I needed, like, claws and shards and tooths and things from them. But, I think it's something like getting up onto the dragon, bit of a pain in the ass, but once you're up there, it's kind of fine. But here's the thing. You can only shoot their toenail or their tooth or whatever the other bits get the rare items. You can't just farm them like that. You pick one, and then you have to stand around for another, I don't know, 10 minutes or so before they will give you another. But here's the thing. You shoot them in the face to break off a tooth, and you better go diving down after it, because you're going to lose it if you don't. And then you have to go figure out where the hell the dragon is to get back up there anyway. Oh, Jesus, it's a pain in the ass. I remember I was going for a horn or a tooth or a nail or something like that, and I broke a piece off and I dove after it and it just fell into the sea. It just landed in a bad place and I couldn't get it. That's aggravating too. But you know what? I wasn't actually planning on talking about any of this. It's not on my list. What I wanted to talk about was Barbara Stanwyck. So I watched a movie the other night called, Thelma Jordan is what I'm seeing on a lot of the marketing materials, but the name on the film seems to be The File on Thelma Jordan. So it's a movie from, it's got Barbara Stanwyck in it, so it's, a movie that's 75 years old. I think it's from 1950. Interesting movie. You might be thinking, Barbara Stanwyck, is she doing the whole femme fatale thing? Kind of. She's not playing against type, she's playing with type. I found it an interesting movie. Interesting premise. So here's I'm gonna spoil a 75-year-old movie. So there's this guy, and he's, like, married, which is, like, a bummer to him, because he doesn't seem to, like his wife at all. Or rather, he seems to have really more of a problem with his in-laws, but he's taking it out on his wife. So he's a district attorney, so he's, like, staying at the office and drinking. Okay. Well, so he's, like, drinking himself stupid in his boss's office when Barbara Stanwyck walks in. And she thinks he's different because he's in his boss's office, so she thinks he is his boss. And then they start a torrid love affair. Like you do, I guess. And then she calls him in a panic. Oh no, the lady who I'm staying with has been shot, and the safe is open and been cleaned out, and they're gonna think I did it. What do I do? Use your super district attorney powers to help me, lover boy. So he comes running, and he helps her adjust the crime scene so that it doesn't point as strongly to her. And then he organizes things so that he takes on the prosecution of the case against her, because she's being tried for murder. And so the movie is about this this district attorney who's attempting to fix the murder case against the woman that he's cheating on his wife with. Okay, interesting premise. One of the biggest problems with... A couple problems with the movie. Number one, pacing. This whole premise is only like the last third of the movie. It's only like the last... It's Act 3. The first two acts, the first hour and change of the movie is just these two canoodling. And I don't care. What makes it an even bigger problem is that the dude sucks even more than the premise would imply, right? He just sucks as a person, and you're like, why is Barbara Stanwyck or Thelma Jordan? What is she seeing this dude? This dude sucks. Stop hanging out with this dude. So you're thinking, well, I know Barbara Stanwyck's oeuvre. Is she playing him? Like, is she getting in good with a DA so that when she kills someone to rob her safe, then she'll have the DA wrapped around her fingers and be more likely to beat the murder rap? Interesting idea. And what I found particularly fun about the movie is Stanwyck's character does not tip her hand at all. You know, she doesn't have any lines of dialogue that can easily be taken in multiple ways. She doesn't have, like, when he turns around to look somewhere else, she doesn't, do the dark look kind of a thing where you're not sure if she's a good guy or a bad guy, or rather if she's playing him or if she's not. I like the fact that it's not just ambiguous, it's played completely straight. She never drops of course she is playing him, but she does not drop that until it's over, the very end. And I really appreciate that. But this was a movie made in 1950. So the Hays Code was in full swing, so we know that none of them are going to get away with this. They're either going to get caught or they're going to die. Because that's how it had to be back then. Some movies handle it more gracefully than others. This does not handle it gracefully at all. So she wins. She beats the murder rap thanks to her lover fixing the case for her, and then she tells him to, pound sand, and she leaves with her real boyfriend, and they're driving away in the dark of the night, in the still of the night, and then suddenly, gosh darn it, that main character dude, he sure does kiss good. So she grabs a cigarette lighter, the car's cigarette lighter, and jams it in her boyfriend's face, which causes the car to careen off the road, over a cliff, and explode. Okay. But that's not the best part. She's not dead. They pull her ass out of, and the rest of her, out of the wreckage. So she's now in the hospital on her deathbed, and the male lead comes to talk, because we now get that scene. Oh, I really loved you. That kind of horse shit. So we have this scene, and what I found was particularly funny was she looks fine. That car flew off a cliff and exploded. She should look worse. But, her hair is perfect. Her makeup is fine. She's like in dual arm casts. and she's dying. She literally dies. She's like, oh, love, oh, cruel world. She dies from her injuries. That doesn't look like she has any. I'm wondering, did like the creative team on this film go like, no, we're not covering Barbara Stanwyck's face in burn makeup. That's not something we're doing. No. Or was it like, we don't have the confidence to do convincing burn makeup? I don't know. It's kind of fun to wonder about. But another thing I found interesting is that this whole thing here is dumb, and it's the reason they do it that way, of course, is the Hays Code, and of course our male lead, he loses his job. Obviously, he's like, well, I'm just gonna have to skip town and I guess leave my wife and kids and just try and start over somewhere because, I got caught out fixing a murder case, and I think that's an appropriate comeuppance for him. But I just suddenly decided to burn the driver in the face with a cigarette lighter and then careen off of a cliff and explode and then died. It's like, that doesn't feel right. But Barbara Stanwyck is a gosh darn professional. And because she's a gosh darn professional, she is going to drag this movie kicking and screaming over the finish line. And she does. As dumb as this whole sequence is, as she is in the other few films I've seen her in, Double Indemnity, and of course in some others, I've seen her in some other stuff. Double Indemnity is the only one I can think of off the top of my head, but great actor. Great. This was when the era of acting started transitioning from the more theatrical acting style to a more naturalistic acting style that modern audiences would be a bit more comfortable with. Great performer. And as stupid as this is, she sells it. She gives good death face. She dies well, and you believe everything she's saying. Great performer. Not a well-paced movie. The male lead sucks, and the Hays Code kind of ruins the denouement. But Stanwyck is a hell of a performer, and as I said, she's gonna muscle this sucker over the finish line, and she does. So I got a kick. Not one of the better ones. I think Double Indemnity is probably better, as from Stanwyck's oeuvre anyway. But interesting film. I'd never heard of this one. I was just browsing the Criterion Collection. I'm like, never heard of this. Barbara Stanwyck's in it. Can't be too bad. And it wasn't. So, no need to watch it now that I've been spoiled the entire thing for you, but there you go. I also watched Skull Island. Not Kong Skull Island, but just Skull Island, the animated show on Netflix. Sean asked what was the movie called. It's called The File on Thelma Jordan, from 1950, I want to say. So let me just put in the chat in case anyone wants to IMDb it. Where is my mouse cursor? There we go. The File on Thelma Jordan. And I give you the approximate date because, for all I know, it's been remade 6 times. Anyway. So, Skull Island, animated show. I mean, it is about the Skull Island that Kong lives on. So, a bunch of people crash on Skull Island, try not to get eaten by the various monsters that live there. Old, 1950, so, 74 years old. I think it's 1950. I've got 1950 in my head, so it's got to be that era, just looking at Stanwyck and how old she is in this film. But anyway, Is there anyone else I recognize in that film? No, I don't think. Stanwyck is the only one I know. I'm not like a film scholar or anything, but I've heard of the more famous people. Um, Something I was talking to my sister about a while ago is that my sister and I both have very broad, eclectic taste in film. I'll get to Skull Island here in a bit. There are some connoisseurs of the filmic arts who just can't grok with anything before a certain time period. Like some of the younger generation would be like, ah man, anything before 2000, I just can't watch. It's so hokey, either from effects or costuming of the time. You get older and you get into different acting styles and stuff, and you've got some enjoyers of film who are like, I can't, black and white, I just can't, I can't. It has to be color. It has to be in a language that I understand. So some folks have trouble with films that are in languages they don't understand. I know some folks who genuinely cannot stand stop motion animation just because the movement weirds them out. My sister and I, on the other hand, between us, there's very little that she and I just don't enjoy. We both love everything from horror, drama, romance, comedy, old movies, new movies, animation, live action, color, black and white, languages we speak, which is one, languages we don't, which are the rest. About the only place, like, my sister draws the line at cannibal films. She's just like, nope, people eating people, that's where I draw the line. I don't know that I draw the line anywhere. I mean, I draw the literal snuff videos or crush videos or something like that, which are more urban legend than do exist, but more of an urban legend thing than an actual part of the filmic arts, right? But the point I was getting at is when I'm watching a movie from like the 30s or 40s, it is really difficult for me to watch the film and not at some point think, wow, everyone in this movie is dead. I mean, sometimes if I'm like watching the later Thin Man series or something, and with Powell and God, is it Myrna Lloyd? The later entries in the series had the kid, their young son, who the actor portrayed him as 5 or 6 or something like that. Maybe he's still alive and in his 90s now or something like that. But it's really weird watching movies from the 30s and some of the 40s and going like, wow, goddamn, all these people are like very, very dead now. It's just weird to me anyway. Natural part of life. But what was I talking about? We're talking about Skull Island. Let's see. Sean says, I've been watching a lot of old movies lately. Just watched A Streetcar Named Desire I don't think I've ever seen that. Is that Brando? Am I thinking of the right movie? Let me IMDb it real quick. Make sure I'm thinking of the right thing. Streetcar Named Desire. Yeah, Marlon Brando. Yeah, okay, I'm thinking of the right movie. Pretty sure I have not seen that. Vivian Lee, yeah. Who else is in it? I don't recognize anyone else. Who's the director? Elia Kazan? Not a name I recognize either. Anyway, I should watch that at some point. Lost my train of thought. Yep, that thought train left the station and it ain't coming back. Kong, Skull Island, no Kong. Skull Island sans Kong. So a bunch of people go to the island, try not to get eaten by monsters. Varying degrees of success. Not too bad. One of the things I liked about the show, particularly early on, is it showed a willingness for cast members to kill off cast members, and in horrible, gnarly ways. The people die and people can get hurt. It's not particularly gory, but there's some blood, and there's like quick shots of like a disembodied limb going flying and things like that. So it's, I don't know what the rating would be. TV 14 maybe, whatever rating system TV uses, I have no idea. Because I'm an adult and I can watch anything, haha, and I don't care. I've talked about this before. I don't need characters in a movie or a TV series to die or bleed. I just, if it's an adventure show, if it's a show where the characters are risking their lives, I need to feel like they can get hurt or even killed. If that's the, flesh-eating monsters is the soup du jour, then you need to feel like someone can get at. And that's something that I thought the animated Gremlins show did quite well, in that it... is that heart thing stuck? Because that thing's just hearting all over the place. Yeah, whatever. One thing I thought the Gremlins show did quite well is it's a younger skewing show, but people do definitely get hurt by the Gremlins, right? Some people, if you're watching in the background the Gremlins wreaking havoc in Shanghai, and you're like, oh yeah, that person's dead, they're dead, So Skull Island, interestingly, Kong is not a big part of it. He is there. He really only becomes relevant to the plot in the last 2, maybe 3 episodes out of 8. And honestly, I felt like that was the weakest part. Although, the show does have one of the funniest jokes. A moment that I laughed so hard at, I had to pause the damn show. I'm not going to spoil it, but I would say that there's Kong and there's another monster, and they don't like each other too much. And the monster does something particularly dickish to Kong that is so over the top hilarious that I had to stop the show for a minute so I could guffaw. Not a perfect show. I think it's... I think it tries to be a bit too cute at times with the characters. The dialogue is funny, and the characters is often funny, and the characters are often quite charming and likable. But it goes, for me, a bit too far sometimes. It's like, I mean, you're probably going to be eaten by something in the next hour or two. This exchange is a bit too lighthearted, I feel. Also, I really like the conceit of Annie, I think her name is. So little Annie got orphaned on, well, an adjacent island, but one with monsters also. She ends up on Skull Island, so plot can happen. It's cool. So she is shipwrecked on an island when she's 6. So she's 16, 17 now. So when the main cast meet her, she's, 17 years old, but she still only has the vocabulary of a 6-year-old. She's got the mental faculties of a 17-year-old. She's been there she's damn competent at, wilderness survival. She kicks ass. She's managed to keep herself alive for 10 years. She's doing great. but she didn't have any other humans there, so her vocabulary is not great, and her interpersonal skills not great either. I think that's a great conceit for a character, because she doesn't... Interpersonal communication, obviously not her strong suit, also hampered by the fact that she has a 6-year-old's vocabulary, and a lot of things people will say to her, she just doesn't know what that means. Like, someone might say, contemptuous, and she goes, I don't know what that means. It's like, what do you mean? It's just a common English word. She's like, yeah, they didn't have schools here. You know, the entire vocabulary, the entire working vocabulary I had when I was 6, that's all I got now. I didn't know contemptuous as a 6-year-old. I don't know it now. I think that's a cool idea. I don't think it's written as well as it could be, but I think the idea is really strong. I don't think it plays right. I think that could have maybe bring a 6-year-old into the office and see what words they get hung up on, and observe how their interpersonal skills work. It feels scripted. It feels staged. I get what they're going for, and I like what they're doing. I don't think they pull it off as well as it could have been pulled. But overall, it was, there are monsters, people get munched, and, Kong is there too, but who cares? At least I don't know what contemptuous means either, so there you go. Let's see. What's next on the list here? Last thing I'll talk about, another cartoon, is Invincible. So Invincible is on Amazon Prime, I think. It just aired what I think is the final episode of its second season this past Thursday or whatever day it airs. And I've read the comic, not all of it, because there's a lot of it, but I've read past the point where the show is. What I find particularly interesting is how much better the animated adaptation is than the source comic. All due respect to the creative team on the comic, I don't think the comic is good at all. I think it's actually kind of bad. I think the characters are broadly bad. I think the narrative structure does not serve the plot well. But I will say, pardon me, goodness. But I will say, I think it's incredibly imaginative. What's the name of the guy who wrote it? Kirkland? I think it's the same dude who wrote, was it Walking Dead? Grant. Kirk? Shit, I forget his name. Let's look. I could look real quick. Give credit where credit's due. Invincible. Robert Kirkman. There we go. The Man of Kirk. Robert Kirkman. Okay. Robert Kirkman strikes me as somewhat similar to George Lucas. Great ideas, guy. Not as strong at actually telling a story. Not as strong at making good, relatable, well-rounded characters, but really good at the ideas. Really good at the tangible details of the universe. There's a lot of cool stuff in the Invincible world of the comic book. There's a lot of really great ideas. And it's been fascinating watching the animated show take those great ideas and make, in my opinion anyway, a really solid show with great, relatable, well-rounded characters in a narrative that services the plot in a adequate, at very least adequate and meaningful way. It's great to see, and yeah, it's just the show is so much better than the book. It's because I remember, I'll like, oh yeah, I remember this from the book, and that didn't work at all. But when you change the order a little bit and you tweak the characters a little bit, it becomes great. So solid damn foundation, but yeah, needed some help with the characters and story. And no, I don't mean to be snide against Robert Kirkman. Uh, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and his appear to be concept and world building, not as strong on character and narrative design, and that's okay. Like, look at the world of music. There are a lot of people who are uh, great at writing lyrics, but can't write a melody to save their ass. There are some who can arrange music, but only vocals. They can't arrange like instrumentation. That's totally me. I can arrange vocals. I can write lyrics to an extent. Not great at it, but I can. But I can't write songs. I can't write melodies, and I'm not good at coming up with melodies. I'm actually very terrible at it. So, writing songs is hard because you have to come up with the music, you have to come up with the lyrics, you have to come up with the melody, you have to come up with any harmonies you're going to use. A bunch of shit that you have to do. That's writing a single song is multiple disciplines. And then, are you going to like record the entire thing yourself? Are you going to sing the lead melody and the harmony parts? Are you going to play any or all of the instruments? That's so writing a story like this. It's okay to just be good at concepts and world building and not be so. The point I'm trying to make is I'm not trying to call Robert Kirkman bad at his job or anything. I think he's very good at certain aspects of his job and not as strong at others. And I find it really great to watch the show on Amazon Prime and see other people work with him to capitalize on his great ideas and make a show that, well, I enjoy. Your mileage may vary. Lee says, not sure if show follows the comic. It's following it almost exactly. Stuff is in a bit of a different order, and the dialogue, of course, is a bit different. The characters are massaged, but recognizably the same characters, both in visuals and attitude. All of the major beats are hit. I'm trying to think of. Yeah, no, it's following the comic book very very closely. Um, so which is one of the things that makes it so interesting is that they don't have to change or tweak too damn much to turn a great idea into a great story, or a great multiple animated episodes of television. Uh, Chaos says, great at the big picture, not as good at the finer details. Um, when it comes to character, dialogue, pacing, narrative structure, things like that, yeah. But I'd say Grant. I'm trying to say Grant Kirkhope, and he's a musician. Robert Kirkman. Um, there's a lot of detail to. I'm assuming he draws it too. I don't know, but there's a lot of interesting detail both in the story, the construction of the world that these characters exist in addition to the literal art depicting the world that they exist in. Those fine details are actually very, very cool. Like the individual gadgets and power sets and the different factions and organizations and things that exist throughout the world. Um, so, yeah, we all have our strengths. I wonder if they got their idea for Ultraman from Superman and Dragon Ball. Who's Ultraman? Oh, Omni-Man? Yeah, I mean, Nolan? The Invincible's dad? Oh, he's definitely a... Most of the Guardians of the Globe are a direct riff, or at least the original cast of Guardians of the Globe are a direct riff on most recognizable lineups of the Justice League. Like most of the characters that Nolan kills in the very beginning. There's a Batman analog and a Green Lantern analog and Aquaman, who's literally a fish. There's a Flash analog. Wonder Woman analog. So yeah, it definitely inspired by and there's actually a bunch of there's some universe hopping, so it's very implied that Invincible has met Spider-Man and Spawn and other characters throughout the various comic book universes. So yeah, Ultraman, Omni-Man, very Superman, all means exactly the same thing. It's very, very close, so I got you. All right, that's it for tonight. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out. I whined about Legend of Zelda for half an hour. Wasn't planning on doing that, but I've added it to my show notes, so I remember to put it in the timestamps later this week when I do that. So it's tomorrow's the first Sunday of the month, so we are going to play something different. Partially because that's usually what we do, and partially because I need time to kick the crap out of Uncle Sigmund in Trails to Azure. That video should be available later this week. So tomorrow we will be playing the new Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. So, huzzah. I've turned this game on just to, I haven't started playing it, but, I did turn it on just to make sure that it loads and isn't completely broken. And Ubisoft, of course, is a company where the upper management, Yves Jumeau and the CEO of the company and the upper management, just horrible, despicable people who are apologists for and protectors of sex pests. So that's not cool. But there's also some just horrible crap that shows up immediately in this game that is just like, oh man, this is art would be so much better if, at least my knee-jerk reaction is, art would often be so much better if stupid management people who have no interest in, let alone talent for, the arts would just back off. There are two decisions in Prince of Persia Lost Crown. Two decisions that happen before you even get to the title screen that make you want to slap someone. And I bet the person who needs a slap is not a creative, but some overpaid executive. I can't prove that, but I do suspect that. So, join me tomorrow for some Prince of Persia, not Sands of Time, god damn it, Lost Crown, and we will laugh at the horrible people at Ubisoft and extend our sympathies to the wonderful creatives who manage to survive there and occasionally pump out good games. And I've heard Lost Crown is one of the good ones, so... Unlike, Skull and Bones? The quadruple A game, which looks like garbage, and everything I've read about seems to support that. So, I think quadruple A just means we're charging a lot for it. I don't think that has anything to do with quality. All right. That's it out of me. Oh, hey, Colin, hello. That's it out of me. Noon Pacific Standard Time is when we'll start, so see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.